It's a topic that's hard to think about, even harder to talk about, but female genital mutilation is a reality for more than 1 million women today. And despite efforts to stop the practice, it's still prevalent in many countries. The practice stretches from Africa to Southeast Asia and to America, where it was outlawed almost 20 years ago. As the UN marks the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation, CCTV's UN correspondent Liling Tan looks at one woman's fight to eradicate the practice at her home in Senegal and around the world. We must warn you that some of the following report is graphic.
Est-ce que vous avez une idée par rapport aux conséquences de l'excision?
It's an uncomfortable topic, but a painful reality for millions of women. The procedure involves the removal of female genitalia. It could result in infections, reproductive complications, and increased risk of death for newborns. But Senegal-born activist and hip-hop artist Fatou Diatta, known by her stage name Sister Fa, is trying to educate communities one by one, as seen here in the documentary Saraba. We spoke with Sister Fa in New York as the UN marks International Day of Zero Tolerance against the practice.
From my own experience when I'm with the kids, first of all, I know that they are quite very young. They have been already cut because they are between 13, 14 years old. And then most of the result I'm looking for is like to save the future generation. We're not using today the word mutilation because it has a very powerful sense. Our mother did not mutilate us. They cut us because they wanted us to be accepted.
UK-based activist group Orchid Project says the subject remains taboo in many communities.
We're talking about vaginas. Not often are we allowed to say that. And least of all in some of these communities where they're very private. So that's one key challenge. The second thing is resources. We need the world to wake up to this issue and to be able to fund the movement that is growing to allow abandonment to happen.
UNICEF says 125 million women have undergone the procedure. 3 million girls are cut every year, mostly in Africa. But it also occurs in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. A worrying trend, says UNICEF, is the growing medicalization of the procedure, in which cutting is being carried out by healthcare providers.
It's not safer for girls. It's not less harmful somehow because it's done by a healthcare provider. The consequences in the long-term life consequences for women and girls remain the same.
The practice of cutting may be prevalent in Africa, but girls living in developed countries, such as in Europe and here in America, are still undergoing the procedure. The U.S. has outlawed the practice of FGMC, but Washington-based Population Reference Bureau says girls from immigrant families are being sent abroad for the procedure. Still, activist groups say progress is being made, and they are confident that with continued support from policymakers, they can meet the goal of ending the practice within this generation. Liling Tan, CCTV, New York.